Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm coming to you from a very rainy and dark Texas. I'm not sure what it's like in your world, but hopefully you're starting your day off well. Um, as usual, I like to give it 30 seconds for people to come in because a lot of people are still logging in. I see that. And want to tell you, thank you guys. I'm so excited that you keep showing up for all these classes. I really appreciated that you are willing to hang with us and want to know a little bit more about what we're up to and how to do things the best. And this also gives us a great opportunity to learn from you guys. And that's why we always, throw a few questions in and get some ideas. So thank you for that. People are still trickling in, but let's get going. As usual, my name is Slavi Younger. I like to turn on the camera at the beginning so you guys know it's a real person. I will turn it off so my big head is not in your way, and we will get started. All right, so here we come. All right, this is Frash. If this is your first time taking a class from us, welcome, welcome, welcome. Frash is a manufacturer of acoustical products. We are located in Arlington, Texas. This is outside of Dallas, Texas. We make a lot of ceiling wall products as well as space dividers and acoustical lighting. Our primary material that we use is PET felt, and that's kind of how we go to the market. I'm not sure why my camera turned on, sorry about that. Here we go. All right, my name is Slavi Younger. I am a co-founder of Frash. I'm one of the two folks that started the company. I am primarily involved on the sales marketing side of things, and I have kind of took on the education side of things. So that's why you guys see me a lot, because this is the part I really enjoy. What I'm going to be talking about today is baffles and clouds. Our standard down and dirty, most common product, right? So, we have so many cool things, but sort of I like to think of baffles and clouds as the meat and potatoes of the cool acoustics, right? And it can be confusing, right? Like what to suggest to whom, how the install should be, how many there should be. It's definitely a confusing topic. So today we're going to dedicate 30 minutes to put some clarity into the baffle. So these are the primary baffles that we offer. Anything that hangs vertically is called baffle in our industry. So that's kind of what that is. By the way, I forgot to mention at the beginning two things. One, anytime you have a question, please type it into the question section, and we absolutely will address it at the end. We'll get them all. And also, which you usually don't see, but we also included a handout. There's a handout you can download. It's a one-pager cheat sheet for you to keep that put together all the pieces that I'll be going over in this class, just on one page that you can refer to. So here's the baffles. As I said, baffles are the vertical pieces. Here they are on one page, kind of describe what is what, like what are the features of each. So if you start, let's start on the right? So we'll be talking about skinny baffle. This is sort of the original thing. Then we'll talk about the classic baffle and its function, plus, blade, canoe, and try. The reason the photo on the bottom is from the side is because that this angle you can easiest tell the differences, right? The differences are how thick or thin they are. Are they have inset side, or do they have an inset side as well as the bottom? So let's take a look at each of them one at a time. Okay, skinny baffle. So skinny baffle is really essentially, you can think of a 9mm material that has been built out on top to be able to accept hardware, right? That's essentially what that is. A couple things with With skinny baffle, you can change the look of it. You can make it straight, or you can make it wavy on the bottom to give it some idea. Our standard, all the sizes you see here, this is sort of the standard stuff, stuff that has a skew, easy to spec. However, the heights can vary, dramatically depending what your space needs. As you guys probably already know, if you've been working with us, the raw material is 4x8 in size. So really skinny baffle could be 4x8 hung either way. We would just build out that side. But just for a standard issue information, here you go. Also pay attention to the NRC, right? Noise reduction coefficient. It's 0.75. Just really quickly, you probably know NRC goes from 0 to 1. 1 being perfect absorption, means it absorbs the everything that touches it as far as sound waves, and 0 is a perfect reflection. So 0.75 is the noise reduction coefficient of PET felt material itself, right? So let's look at what we can, here's from every angle. So let's look at the next one. Let's look at a classic baffle. So classic baffle is really what put us on the map. These are the first baffles we've made, and since then obviously evolved into a few other things. The special features or additions you can add to this guy are, this is the one where you can add LED light. So if you have a project where you need a combination of lit and non-lit product, this is the option. This is a great one to go with. You have a photo of that. The top one shows that. The other one is we have a tilt hardware that allows you to sort of give it yet another look, to create a tilt look onto to a standard baffle. Just again, slightly something different you can do here as well. Sizes, you can see those here. Those are, again, our standard sizes. The NRC now jumps to 1.1. Even though NRC can only go up to 1, right, because you cannot have more absorption than 100, there's a little bit of a limitation when it comes to testing, when you're testing three-dimensional product, right? So that's why you get 1.1. However, what does it mean? It means you get perfect absorption with this baffle. Plus baffle. So plus is our best seller. I do think it's the best seller because it's probably the most comparable to other baffles in the marketplace. So as people are discovering Frosh, they may have had somebody else in mind first, and they decide to ease into Frosh buying to using something that's relatively similar. This one, again, all the lengths to couple heights, thickness. Again, 1.1 is the NRC, just like the previous one. And like I said, very, very popular. And there you go. This is kind of what it looks like, right? You get the indentation just on the side, and the bottom is flat flush. Okay, here's a blade baffle. So blade baffle is very similar to the other two, except you don't have that indentation or the set-in side, right? It's completely done as a rectangle, right? The reason for this is, I mean, the reason why we initially created this was for being able to print on it, right? You want to make sure there's no exposed edge of the PET, because that kind of gives it away, right? It gives it away that it's printed, right? So the special feature of this one is you can add wood grain prints. Actually, honestly, you could add any print, right? But usually what happens, we have requests for prints. We do have two standard ones, light gray and dark gray, light wood and dark wood that you see right here. Again, sizes NRC the same as the previous guys. Again, perfect absorption. So let's go into our first question. So the question we have for you guys: how interested do you feel that the market would be in adding an additional wood grain, specifically the sort of a gray wash, light gray, option. So I opened the poll. Please take a couple minutes to answer. I'm just curious to see what you guys see up there. What you think would work. By the way, guys, I so appreciate you. You guys always answer right away. Like we have like, I have within seconds, there's like 60, 70 people that click it. So I guess you guys are paying attention. No one made you come, right? You just came on your own volition. So that definitely helps. Yeah, thank you guys. All right, so let's see, manage polls. So we can close this guy. Okay, yeah, so you guys, very few said that not at all. 55 say, yeah, we definitely could use it. And then the second one is 42% that says, that it's, you know, that it always helps to add another color. So thank you guys for taking the moment to answer. Yeah, you know, interesting thing about this gray is we were just playing around it, and I had created one rendering with this, like a photorealistic rendering with using gray wash, because I personally love gray wash, and before, I mean, we didn't even post it as, we didn't even make it as our standard yet. That particular render has been so popular, it has actually, that exact look has been spec'd in so many things. So I've had conversations with A&D so much about that one rendering. So they're copying my design that I created in the fake world of graphic design. So I'll take it. Anyway, this is, now we're gonna move to sort of, you know, funky and fun option. One of them is Canoe. I think this guy is really eye-catching. It's really interesting. You know, you can very much play with the lengths. We've worked on a really fun projects actually in Hawaii, for which we sort of created this one. I've done it a few times. You know, we haven't done we haven't given much of an effort to promote this, so it's not a huge seller. It's also kind of very specific look, right? But I do think it's cool. If you look at the NRC, it's off the charts, right? I think so, it's probably the shape. Again, you know, what you officially can really say is that it has a perfect absorption, right? It absorbs 100% of what happens. So the last one I wanted to mention is try Baffle. I like this guy. I like this guy because I think it's still clean and streamlined, so it doesn't look like, oh, someone went too crazy and you'll get tired of it. But it's also has it's little different, right? It's not a rectangle. I think it's really cool. The other thing that's really awesome, which credit goes to our engineers, we can actually hang it with the skinny side up, you know, the point sided up, or the reverse, right? It can go either way. So if you imagine like a install where they alternate, I think that would be really cool. So anyway, so that's why I want to make sure it got included in here for you guys to sort of see what it looks like. But I suspect a lot of you guys actually probably joined the class because of this section, right? The installation, because this is kind of where you know, customers get interested by seeing seeing how pretty they are, but then we get to the installation, everything else, and that's when it can get hairy if you don't feel comfortable answering those, right? So what we will do, we will go through all the different installation types, which baffles can be installed with that type of installation, and sort of just the basics of what you need and what's included and all that kind of stuff. So let's look at aircraft cable. Aircraft cable installation is the most basic, and it's also a default installation. It's oftentimes selected, but also if it's not selected, this is what we default to. Every single baffle I've shown you can be installed with aircraft cable. Here is also what causes confusion. Depending what place we talk to. If we talk to the installers, you know, the guys that do ceilings all day every day, and they're like, is hardware included? And we say, yes, it is. They're like, great, because they know what we mean is the hardware that is touching the baffle itself, right? When we talk to folks that are maybe more on the furniture dealership and we say the hardware is installed, we cause confusion. So we kind of very much changed our language. The reason we cause confusion is because it kind of implies that you get a kit, right? You don't. You get a baffle with the hardware, access to the hardware, and the hardware that screws into the baffle itself. So let me kind of elaborate a little more what that means. And this will apply to all the other sections. That's why I'm spending a little more time on that. So you will receive a baffle. You will receive all the pieces that you see here in the drawing. You get the coupler nut, you get the grip lock, and you get the hanger bolt that they all screw together into the baffle itself, and you get an aircraft cable. You get 3 feet of aircraft cable per baffle. The reason we do that is to really essentially get the installer started. It's also in bulk. We don't want to cut it because we do not know the installation space, and we don't know how much actual aircraft cable they will require. If the baffle hangs lower than 1.5 feet from wherever it's being hung, the installer will be buying the additional aircraft cable, right? So that's kind of what that means. And they, of course, will also supply the hardware that attach the final attachment to the ceiling itself. We don't know what kind of ceiling there will be. This is a very much a technical thing that oftentimes is decided by the installer or was already decided by the architect well in advance. Okay, so the way you can kind of think of it and remember it: baffle up is Frush, ceiling down is installer. That's kind of where the line is created, right? Ceiling down, installer handles that part. Baffle up is what Frush will send to the site. Threaded rod is identical to the aircraft cable. Threaded rod is essentially fits into the same hardware. You know, it's a 1/4-20 threaded rod that fits the same space to the same space as the and accepts the same grip lock as I've shown you before. Where this becomes applicable is for 2 things: is when if you're installing somewhere, there's, let's say they're going to be close to an air vent or lots of airflow, and you don't want them to be swinging in the air, or you're going really high, so the thread, so the cable would be too long, and again, it's just the swinging of it. This will make it stationary. The other time where you use threaded rod always is when you add lights. When you add lights, I mean, I'm not saying you can do the other, but I really see, I haven't seen anyone use anything else but threaded rod. This is usually what the electricians prefer and expect. Same story about this. We do give in bulk threaded rod to get folks started. It's the same thing, right? It's 18 inches per side, or 3 feet per baffle. The remainder is purchased by the installer, as well as the hardware that will be attaching to whatever the whatever the ceiling or whatever it's being attached to on the top. This is very similar to aircraft cable, with one change is that they already know that it's going straight to the ceiling, and they like to have that finishing cone nut. Again, it just needs to be specified at the order when the order is placed. There's a note here that for Classic, Plus, Blade, Tri, and Skinny, we include hanger bolt, and for Canoe we would include grip lock, just because they need the 2 different hardware. Again, don't worry too much about all of this. When you placing order, if you tell us I want this baffle and this is the way it's going to be installed, we will put together this care package for you, and the right stuff will show up, right? Okay, so let's talk about Unistrut and how the Unistrut thing works. All right, so Unistrut is the most common hardware used in ceilings, right? It's the sort of the dark, it accepts all kinds of different things. It's sort of what you do to lower, let's say, because you're hanging lights and all the pieces that you need. This is sort of how you bring down the access to something that you're hanging to, right? So Unistrut gets installed first, and from that, everything else goes onto it. We do not include nor install or in any way get involved with Unistrut. Unistrut is a sealing component that's done by installers, right? So what do we do if you do tell us that this will be a Unistrut install? We will include nylon cone nut. What's beautiful about this guy is it fits perfectly into the opening. It can lock, but also it can be moved, right? So you can make all the adjustments into with the Unistrut in place. The other reason why Unistrut's really popular is you know, upfront cost. There's an upfront cost for purchasing Unistrut. However, imagine having to go all the way to the ceiling with every single baffle and really punching a hole into the ceiling. Also potentially making a mistake, right? Like what that would cost in labor, right? This is why Unistrut is a no-brainer, pretty much used in all large installations. If you're doing any you know, any sort of an install where there's 40, 50, hundreds of baffles, and they need to be, they're going to be in spaced evenly, you know, you're going to be working on a really high ceiling there, you know, with ladders or scaffolds or what have you, you almost always see the Unistrut. And Unistrut, of course, you can also do threaded rod as well when that is preferred. The other one sort of that's not that common, I think we kind of added this because we had a customer wanting to do it this way, and it worked out really cool. You know, you can do a conduit clip. It goes onto a conduit. You know, it kind of, the finish is sort of more industrial, you know, open exposed hardware, that kind of thing. So that's sort of what it looks like when finished. So just know this is available. Again, all you need to do is specify that this is a conduit clip install. And another question. So I forgot to share the last one, so sorry about that, guys. Okay, so hide. Next question. Launch. So how far apart should baffles be to achieve optimal performance? And I forgot to change the questions on my screen. The ones you should answer: 18 inches, 2 feet. This is a trick question. They should not be spaced apart. Spacing can cause sound to echo. D, I have no idea. That's why I'm here today. Why are you actually asking me this? Is the fourth answer. So yeah, you guys are good answers. Look at you. All right. So yeah. All right. So this whole question, honestly, is a trick question. Let me share the results so you guys can see. You guys are all right, actually, because here's the thing. So what's the answer? The answer is, in general, in most places, spacing them 18 inches apart will work. But there's so many caveats, right? How high is the ceiling? How big is the baffle? Are you going with a skinny baffle, which needs to be closer together versus one of the other baffles? You know, it kind of causes a lot of anxiety as to what to do. Here's what I can tell you is there is kind of a range to what you can do, right? Sometimes, really honestly, especially if the space has no treatment, the first treatment always will give you the most results. So let's say you started doing 18 inches and it's outside of what the budget can handle, and you say, okay, let's see how many baffles we would need if you do it 2.5 feet. It will work, right? It will give you results, right? It's definitely a one of those that obviously you don't want to put them so far apart that they're not going to work. What's more important is, you know, one way you can start with how far apart, but really what you want to do is if you were to look at reverberation time and how it's calculated, what essentially you really need to know is how many square feet of highly sound absorptive material do we need to get into the space in order to get the right to get the what we want to get, right? So what really actually you need to think about is how many baffles do I need to get in here so it works, and then let's space them evenly, and bam, there's our answer, right? But sometimes that's a little harder to do. And anyway, so you guys know we have a reverberation calculator just for reps and dealers. So if you're not a rep and dealer, you can certainly reach out to your local rep. They can certainly help you. This is just a general thing. This is not a, oh, for sure, this is final answer to everything. However, it kind of gives you general idea, right? So what do? You enter room dimensions. This calculator assumes there's zero sound absorptive materials, right? Because we don't know what's in there. It tells you what the current reverberation is. Then you pick a product you're interested in, and bam, what does it tell you? You have 3 options to go with. If you go with one of those 3 options, and you'll see it kind of should tell you expected reverb after that, right? Which I did not include here. But what is the one you're shooting for, right? There's also recommended reverberation for different spaces. There's different reverb you need for gymnasium versus studio. So that's kind of sort of what you do. Once you see, oh, the recommended amount is, let's say, 400 baffles, right? What do? Just, okay, then okay, we just need to space them evenly, and that gives us the answer. As you guys all know, if all of this is, it's a starting point, again, this assumes there's zero acoustics in there, right? So this is these numbers are sort of on the high end. So you can certainly always touch base with our estimators and work out something a little more accurate, okay? So final thing, which is clouds. I know we don't have that much time left, but but I wanted to touch on this. This is definitely much less complicated. As you guys know, we have 3 types of clouds: square, rectangle, and circle. 2 of them can have a light added to them. The square and circle can also accept light. The standard size is 4 foot by 4 foot. But again, if you have, especially if it's a larger projects, we can make additional adjustments. And also, as I can tell you, we've done all kinds of other things that could be considered clouds, wings and birds and all kinds of different things. So as far as hardware, there's one type of hardware that comes with clouds. So cloud, the picture you have, the flat picture on the top right, is what it looks like from the top, right? So there's four spaces where the hardware will go, where you put the joiner gripper goes in there. That's actually what lets you adjust the angle. And then from that, there's an aircraft cable, and all the 4 aircraft cables connect with what's called Sputnik assembly. So that will be included, right? That's sort of how that comes together. Then the aircraft cable that goes from Sputnik assembly to the ceiling is and also how it attaches to the ceiling, that falls into hands of the installer, as we said again, because we do not know how low these things will hang and what type of ceiling they have, so what kind of hardware they will need. So that's it about these. As you guys know, there's a bunch of other things we have as far as ceilings go. Like I always say, there's so many different ways to skin this cat. Essentially, what you want to do is, how do I get enough of the material in a space so we get the reverb done, and then let's just get creative, right? Let's get creative about how to get there. You can see I forgot to include these 2 slides, so sorry about this. I was kind of running late. Apologies for that. But the upcoming class I wanted to mention was strata wood. We're going to be talking a lot about strata wood, and we are prepping. We're working so hard to really put together all the nitty-gritty on the installation side of things. So mark your calendar, October 28th, you can already register now. And then November 11th, we will touch again on Vibe, our new Vibe series, you know, all the molded pieces. So that is it for me. Thank you so much, guys. I didn't really leave much time. I apologize for that. So if you have to jump off, I completely understand. But let me take a look at questions that came in so I can quickly answer them. Is there a standard distance between baffles? For example, 6-inch of space, 12. Okay, so this question probably came before we addressed it. So it's a good starting point. 12, 18, 2 feet is a good starting point. But you know, it's not a Bible thing, right? It's like you can certainly adjust to that. 6 and 12 would be good for probably maybe like a skinny baffle. Yes to gray wash. Thank you, Mindy. Yes, I'm glad you love it. Natural oak printed and add natural oak. Okay, yes, we have a couple other colors in mind that we're thinking. I'll match the strata finishes. Great idea. Yeah, let's play. We might play around with that. Additional aircraft cable. Oh, so we do sometimes get asked, hey, can you provide additional aircraft cable? Guys, yes, we can, but that is really something that a professional installer would never want. Here's why. Aircraft cable is commodity. It's literally a Home Depot run. This is like the most basic thing, right? This is not a specialty product. So if they buy it through us, they will pay 3 times as much as they can do on their own, right? This is partly why it's not included. If they purchase a lighted baffle, do they receive aircraft cable or threaded rod as default? They will receive threaded rod as default. Thank you for that question. Yes, Erin, I was stuck on the poll questions. I'm terrible at this. Sorry, guys. I hope I didn't block too much of what was going on. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the compliments. I really appreciate it. What was the standard length of aircraft cable per baffle? Okay, so you get 3 feet. That means 18 inches for each side, right? So but we send it in bulk because we don't want to cut it and then it becomes useless anytime you have less than or you need more than 18 inches, right? So 3 feet per baffle or 18 inches per side. Same thing for threaded rod. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. You guys are the best. Thank you, Lyle. You guys are the best. I'm sure we will see each other hopefully soon. Hopefully the world will open up and I'll get to travel some more and get to actually probably meet some of you guys for the first time or revisit with old friends. Again, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Bye-bye.